Chapter 3. The Lightning of the Desert. Khalid ibn al-Walid, as he marched to the Levant and the conquest of Damascus. Across the vast deserts between Iraq and the Levant, the winds carried whispers of a march unlike any the world had ever seen. It was not a campaign of steel and numbers, but a journey of will, intellect, and faith. It was the march of Khalid ibn al-Walid, the man whose mind had become a weapon sharper than any sword, a force of nature that turned impossibility into inevitability. When the Caliph Abu Bakr al-Siddiq sent his command, his words were simple. "O Khalid, march to Syria and come to the aid of the Muslim armies there." The Muslim forces in the Levant were facing the might of the Byzantine Empire, the heirs of Rome, masters of warfare, with armies vast and disciplined, and between Khalid and the battlefield stretched a sea of sand, a barren, scorching expanse that no army dared to cross. The desert was death. Its silence swallowed whole caravans. Its thirst spared no one. But Khalid ibn al-Walid did not see the desert as an obstacle. He saw it as a test, a chessboard for the mind. Crossing the desert, the triumph of thought over terrain. Khalid studied the maps, traced the stars, and found a path so perilous that even the Bedouins feared it. His officers warned him, "O Abu Sulaiman, there is no life in that desert. Whoever enters it never returns." But Khalid answered with calm certainty, "There is life for those who trust in God and use their reason well." He gathered his best warriors and loaded the camels with water until their sides swelled. Then, under the blazing sun, he led his men into the void, a column of faith moving through silence and sand. Days passed. The sun burned like fire, and the nights froze like stone. But Khalid's mind guided them, by stars, by shadows, by instinct. And when the exhausted army finally saw the tents of the Muslims near Busra, their cries of Allahu Akbar rolled across the desert like thunder. Khalid had done the impossible. He had crossed death itself, not with brute force, but with discipline, calculation, and belief. Historians would later call it one of the greatest logistical feats of the early Islamic era. The strategy of lightning. Khalid in Syria. When Khalid arrived in the Levant, he brought with him not just reinforcements, he brought momentum. He moved like lightning, fast, unpredictable, unstoppable. The Byzantines expected a frontal assault, but Khalid fought like no commander they had ever faced. He broke the rules, changed formation mid-battle, and struck where the enemy was weakest, not strongest. In the Battle of Ajnadain, the odds were overwhelming. The Byzantine army outnumbered the Muslims several times over. But Khalid turned apparent weakness into weaponry. He feigned retreat, a move so bold it seemed suicidal, then encircled the Byzantine flanks in a sweeping maneuver that shattered their lines. By the time the dust settled, the Romans were broken, and the road to Syria lay open. The siege of Damascus. Next stood Damascus, jewel of the Levant, a city fortified with walls, towers, and legends of invincibility. But Khalid did not rush. He studied. He divided his forces around the city, rotating units day and night to create an illusion that fresh reinforcements kept arriving from the desert. Inside Damascus, fear began to grow. The defenders saw banners changing daily, heard new voices shouting commands, and believed that an endless tide of Muslim soldiers surrounded them. Then one night, Khalid made his move. He led a detachment of his finest men to a lesser-guarded gate, and at the break of dawn, they breached the city walls from the east. At that very hour, another Muslim contingent entered peacefully through the western gate under terms of surrender. Two victories, one by sword, one by mind, converged in a single moment. Damascus fell. But Khalid did not enter as a conqueror seeking glory. He entered as a leader who understood that the greatest victory is not the fall of walls, but the opening of hearts. A commander beyond his time, Khalid ibn al-Walid was not a man who fought merely to win battles. He fought to understand them, to refine them, to turn them into art. He believed that true warfare is not in striking first, but in thinking deeper, faster, and clearer than one's enemy. His campaigns in Syria became timeless lessons in strategy, logistics, and psychological warfare. He proved that discipline and intellect could conquer armies far greater in number and power. And when he entered Damascus, he entered not with pride, but with humility, knowing that victory, like leadership itself, is a trust, not a trophy. Khalid ibn al-Walid, the sword of God, had become more than a warrior. He was a school of military genius, a mind that turned the shifting sands of Arabia into a battlefield of intellect, and taught the world that in war, as in life, the sharpest weapon is the human mind.